Could WWE be moving to TNT and TBS? Guys, it's a possibility. We're going to talk about it. Don't forget, I'm giving away this championship belt at 100,000 subscribers. All right, everybody. I want to kick things off with Gene Snitsky. You might have seen him appear backstage with Chelsea Green. Of course, she had to blame everybody. Chelsea Green has perfected the Karen gimmick, but now Gene Snitsky appears backstage and he says, "It wasn't my fault." And yes, Gene Snitsky's got everybody talking because a lot of people were wondering what the hell was he doing backstage in WWE, especially if you've been paying attention to some of the smaller companies that exist. Gene Snitsky has been on Major League Wrestling as of late, but now it appears that Gene Snitsky is actually not signed to the WWE. This doesn't mean that Gene Snitsky can't sign to the WWE. It doesn't mean that he can't return to the WWE, but it just turns out WWE had this idea when they were at the Mohegan Sun Arena in Wilkes-Barre Township, Pennsylvania, which is actually the home state of Snitsky. It's interesting seeing Snitsky in 2023. Guy is obviously still a behemoth, still obviously high impact, high intensity. And of course, the fact that he's been on MLW as of late has a lot of people wondering if there is a potential return to WWE. I don't think WWE needs him. I don't think WWE needs him in any sort of way possible, honestly. WWE loves the big wrestlers. WWE loves the big, scary wrestlers. And, if they have something creatively that just makes sense, then obviously you could bring him back. It's interesting because Braun Strowman is still currently out after being injured, and we don't know the timetable for his return. But I don't think we need Gene Snitsky in WWE. You know what I mean? If you want to bring in Snitsky as a coach, as an agent, as a producer, maybe that could make a lot of sense. But it is funny seeing that WWE does something like this, especially considering that he's not signed to the company. And it just feels like random, it's not like Gene Snitsky has been part of WWE television. I don't remember the last time I seen him on WWE TV, let alone just in WWE in general. I don't know if they've ever even used him as like a Royal Rumble surprise entrant. I don't even think that's been the case. So look, cool to see him. Great little segment with Chelsea Green. Nice little pop. WWE obviously got people talking here. But I wouldn't expect anything to come from this. If something does change, though, obviously I'll keep you guys updated here on the channel. Just keep in mind with WWE, if they continue to do things like this for social media and for their television shows and whatnot, I think it's fun. I don't think it hurts anybody. This is like very little, this doesn't impact other people's TV time or whatever it may be. Jonathan Coachman did an incredible interview with Chris Van Vliet. He was on Insight with CVV, and a lot of interesting things came from the podcast. I'll make sure I put the link in the description if you guys are interested. But it sounds like he would never go back to WWE. He's pretty much saying that himself, which I thought was interesting. He goes on to talk a little bit about his experience in WWE. He says, when things happen, sometimes you got to draw a line in the sand and say, I can't be treated that way, and still go back and be loyal to that company. And it's not like they need me anyway. They're not crying over spilt milk. But I like to think I treat people a certain way, and I want to be treated that way. So yeah, I would never go back. It's interesting hearing Jonathan Coachman talk about WWE like this in 2023. Because Jonathan Coachman is a hell of a commentator. And I know a lot of people have different opinions on the WWE commentary team, right? You see Kevin Patrick is on SmackDown, and some people just don't like Kevin Patrick. I personally think he's good, but there's people who disagree with me, right? So the thing is, if the overall consensus is that you don't like a commentator and you want somebody to come in, Jonathan Coachman is always a great option, right? But also at the same time, too, it's a different company today than it was when Jonathan Coachman was in WWE. You also have to keep in mind that WWE is now owned by Endeavor. So some of those things that maybe he didn't like about WWE in the past, those things can't necessarily slide with this new ownership. And plus, there's a new creative team. And then there's Triple H running creative. And there's just so many changes to the company. It's not the same as it was before, which is why it intrigues me that Jonathan Coachman says he wouldn't come back. But he is right. They don't necessarily need him. I tend to hear the two commentators that should come back to WWE are Mauro Ranallo and Jonathan Coachman. And that's because these two commentators left a good impression on the fans. I think WWE doesn't really have an issue with their commentary teams at the moment. But if they ever want to maybe rectify those issues with Jonathan Coachman, I would easily welcome him back into the program. And I want to turn our attention to our final topic of today's video. WWE's rumored TV networks that could be broadcasting Raw and NXT. Dave Meltzer was talking about this on the latest Wrestling Observer Radio. He noted that the latest rumored television networks interested in picking up WWE Raw is FX, Warner Bros. Discovery, and USA. Now, obviously, FX is owned by Disney. TNT, TBS, True TV, those are just some of the networks owned by Warner Bros. Discovery. And then, obviously, USA Network is owned by NBC Universal. Now, Dave Meltzer does say that they are doing their earnings report tomorrow, which is today. And it should be noted that as far as rumors of Raw, it looks like the rumor mill right now has either FX, WBD, which would be a crazy situation, but I think it's a long shot too, and USA. The analysts believe that they are going to get a 42% increase as well. This is interesting for a variety of reasons because AEW is currently on Warner Bros. Discovery. And if you watch my channel, then you know I talk very highly of their relationship. Their relationship is very good. Warner Bros. Discovery, AEW, really good relationship, right? But I don't think this is out of the realm or out of the possibility because of the fact that if WWE were to bring Raw and NXT, Raw stays on Monday nights, NXT could move to Wednesday nights, or NXT could move to Tuesday nights or Thursday nights, whatever they want. I think the big thing that people got to understand is when it comes down to business, sometimes if the potential to make more money exists, almost all the time, companies will make the decision to go with the real moneymaker. And I'm not saying this as a disrespect to AEW. I think if AEW hypothetically lost their TV deal with Warner Bros. Discovery, I think they would be completely fine. I think they would find another suitable TV partner. I'm sure there's other ones who are interested in AEW currently. But I'm just saying if WWE were to go to Warner Bros. Discovery and move Raw and NXT to their platforms, obviously it will make more money for Warner Bros. Discovery than AEW. And again, we're just playing the waiting game, right? We got to wait and see what happens with NBA and with all these other TV deals and sports rights. But if for some reason WWE is on FX, I don't think it's a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing if WWE lands on Warner Bros. Discovery. I actually don't think it's a bad thing if AEW moved to Disney or ESPN or whatever. Like, there's so many different options. I don't think today there would be a wrong choice for any of these companies. I'm going to talk about this more on More Ango. There's a lot to say, and I don't want to keep you guys waiting. So with that being said, thank you guys for watching. Don't forget, I'm giving away this championship belt at 100,000 subscribers.